All right. Hello, and welcome back to the Thought Cloud podcast. Our goal with this conversation is to help students find their passions by hearing what their peers are passionate about. Our guest today is Adora and Nwodo. Adora has a vast background, and it is unbelievable to see all that she's done. We are going to dig into it. We're going to hear her path of becoming a software developer, see what she's done to involve herself in this space. It's been a tremendous amount of effort that she's put forth, and she's going to shed light on her experiences and what's brought her to where she is now and where she is going. So, Adora, say a few words about yourself because you have so much to unpack.
Hi. It's nice to meet you finally, and it's nice to be on this podcast. Thanks for inviting me. So yeah, my name is Adora, and I'm a software engineer. Currently building mixed reality on cloud. I've been in software engineering for 7 years officially now, which is quite interesting. I do a lot around like infrastructure engineering, DevOps, programming, and I'm an author of two books as well. I'm a YouTuber because I unfortunately I'm not taking my YouTube channel as seriously as a bunch of all the other things that I do. I'm a YouTuber, but even beyond my YouTube channel, I'm a content creator. So I make videos, maybe just not for YouTube, but for like Instagram, post them on Twitter, educative videos, other kinds of educative content. I make like all these really short I won't call them books, but like booklets as well that teach people about things. I recently made one for like a roadmap into DevOps if you want to go into that path. And I've created like some courses. So I am a content creator, even like beyond YouTube videos. I have two books as well on cloud engineering. One is a beginner's book to cloud engineering, the other one is a book on Azure DevOps. And I'm a DJ, right? As well, which is something you wouldn't see on my LinkedIn, but it's there.
DJ,
Um, yeah.
I didn't
What
know
else? I
that.
feel like many things. Yeah, because it's not on my LinkedIn. I mean, that's not the kind of stuff you put on your LinkedIn. So, I mean, I feel like I've many things, even some of them I don't remember right now. Okay, yeah, I'm a public speaker and I lead a bunch of like tech communities, right? There's some other things I'm sure I don't remember, but they will come up as the conversation like, evolves. But that's like a little
Absolutely.
bit about who I am.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we are very happy to have you here today. And again, you have done, I mean, even just saying what you've done a lot. And I think a lot of people can learn from you, not only from what you're creating, but about your story and how this sort of unfolded. And I remember coming across something, I think it was a YouTube interview you did, and it was kind of about your entry into becoming interested in computers. And you were pretty young. And if you could share that experience, that would be interesting, I think, for a lot of people to hear.
Yeah, so backstory, I am the only girl in my family and I am a last born, so I only have elder brothers, right? And when I was younger, we all used to play together, right? Outside the house, all just playing together. And when people go to the office, they hear things, they see their colleagues doing things. So from whatever interaction my dad had at the office with his colleagues, he brought a computer home. And he's like, oh, computers are the next big thing, and I want my children to like understand how to use computers. At that time I was not of age to use a computer. So he's like, you know, your brothers use the computer when you get into like, when you're older, maybe like when you're 9 or 10 or something. I was like 6 or something, right? When you're 9 or 10 or something, you start using the computers. At some point, I'll send you to computer school because he was sending my brothers to computer school, to learn how to use these computers. And it's like, okay, whatever you learn in computer school, when you come home, you have an actual computer to practice with. And that was also going to be the plan for me. But because my brothers are way older than me, it was going to take a long time, at least 6 years, 7 years for me to do that. And I wasn't like able to play with my brothers anymore because they went from playing with me to playing with their computers. And obviously, because of that, I went and I told them, you know what, just teach me how to use this thing, right? And that was where everything started from. So I got introduced to computers. I learned how to use them out. I spent a lot of my time on Encarta Kids at that time. because it was really big then. I joined social media as well. I was on High Five and I was on MySpace, and they were my only friends on social media. But at least I was still there, and I felt like it was still fun, right? And from there, I just like got into the internet as well. And that was also how I figured out what programming was, and I started liking it. So it was from getting interested in computers and like getting my brothers to show me how to use these things, and they played a very important role in how my life went, and my interests. And eventually I decided to take this whole programming thing and computers very seriously, and then I went on to get like a full CS degree, and now I work in a tech company, and I've been there ever since.
I love that. No, I love the way that's unfolded. And I think, there's plenty of people that have had, say, a computer in their house and maybe they didn't find the passion for it that you did. So that's why it stood out to me as a neat story. And I think it's a good segue question to ask. How much of your experience in school with computers led you to explore that passion further, or was it simply just that standalone time that you had outside of school that allowed you to really dig into this and start to realize it as something that you wanted to explore further?
Everything played a role for me. So the time that I had like before school, I would say before school because I mean uh school and computing, computer science, computer engineering, all of that started making sense after. I started doing, I mean, I got a CS degree after I was already interested in computers. I started taking my computer classes in secondary school, interest like more seriously after I got introduced to computers. I was at like 6 or 7. So I think everything played a role. So getting introduced to computers from home and outside of the classroom using them got me interested in computing, right? And then obviously when I got into secondary school, I was writing code, we're doing a lot with um HTML, CSS, Visual Basic as well at the time. So there was already like some small things that I was doing in secondary school, even before I moved into the university, right? So obviously those things played a role.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say everything contributed to it. School contributed to it as well. And I've been lucky because the choice of schools that I like made were schools that were modern schools and had like computer labs and reasonable computer curriculums as well. So I've never been one of those people that struggled to say I hate my computer science degree because it has no effect on my life as a software developer today. I think every single thing that I learned in school are things that I still use in my career today, which I think is awesome. So yeah, that's what I'll say.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. No, that makes a lot of sense actually. And I like the way you put it. It's not just one thing that influenced you. It all came together the way it came together. And with that being said, how have those interests of yours evolved over time? I know that you have a wide array of skill set when it comes to what you've worked on and what you focused on and what you can tell others about. But how did that initially start? You said HTML, CSS, those sort of entry level languages that have now evolved into what? Where do you find yourself most captivated today?
Um, are you asking like what I love the most, like right now?
Yeah, I think what you love the most right now would be interesting and kind of how you've seen that change throughout time and how that has evolved.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, when I started professionally, I was like a full stack engineer. So, whatever project was required for the customer to be happy, I jumped on it. Whatever language was required to make that project go live, I jumped on it. And then, over time, I gradually evolved into like being an Android engineer. So, I sort of like, became an Android developer. And then I got into Microsoft and I got into the cloud, and I've been in the cloud ever since. And I think the cloud is actually the one my favorite at the moment. I think I have, because there's like so many bits to it, because at the end of the day, the cloud is just a collection of computers, and the more immersed you get into the cloud, the more immersed you are in computers, right? So
Huh.
it's been interesting, like seeing all the amazing things you can do with computers, right? When you're thinking about how the cloud plays a role in AI and helping you train AI models and ML ops and things like that. And when you think about how the cloud plays a role in automating deployments and making the life of software engineers even easy, how the cloud plays a role in monitoring your systems, how the cloud plays a role in social media, and like different things that you'd see. And it's just like that was a sweet spot for me.
Right.
And my I started as just like a core regular programmer, full stack engineer, got into Android, then got into the cloud. Right now, I am doing stuff in the cloud as a programmer, but then I'm also evolved in like infrastructure, cloud infrastructure, provisioning of resources. I'm also involved in like DevOps as well as the architecture side of things as well. So it's like a sweet spot, and
Yeah,
I like where I am today. And it's been a very interesting evolution to get to this point for
absolutely.
me.
Absolutely. Well, that's an interesting perspective on it to hear it from somebody who's not only written books, but has worked on some large scale processes. I mean, it's that's a really neat perspective. You get to understand, you get to dig deeper into what actually a computer is. I think that's so neat. Um, if I'm not mistaken, AR and VR was something that you've done a lot with as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, but the reason why I didn't mention AR and VR explicitly is because I'm building tools for AR and VR on the cloud, right?
I
So
see.
that's why I mentioned like cloud stuff because I'm building platforms and tools that help AR and VR engineers build AR and VR applications. So I'm building like these tools on the cloud, and then they can plug into these SDKs and build their own applications, and then they'll run it on their own device. So I'm not building the things on device, even though, however, and I actually should have mentioned that, even though, however, for like 6 months, when I recently joined Microsoft, I was doing a bunch of work on device before I moved into the cloud, and then I've been there ever since. But I'm still doing stuff with like AR, VR, the metaverse, all of that. But now I'm doing it in the context of the cloud, not necessarily, on those devices themselves.
Interesting. So my next question was along the lines of the future of AR and VR. And I think it probably should be that question can be repurposed differently now. You're focused more on the cloud aspect of it. So what about the cloud and how it interacts with what these developers are building? What advancements need to be made for these sort of AR and VR applications to become more widespread and more accessible? What are the roadblocks right now in terms of building and actual use of these models or these applications? And how does the cloud play
Um,
into
I think that when you think about it, there's the cost bit to it, right? From both sides. I mean, if I'm going to render like a full space in the cloud, it's costing everybody. It's costing the company, that has to like, provision cloud resources to make that rendering continuously possible. It's costing the person when the AR VR headsets, because I mean, in this part of the world, let me speak for myself. Internet is not the cheapest thing to purchase, right? And then you're sending streams of data continuously, meaning that you are spending megabytes or gigabytes, you know, if the case, if that's the case, and you're spending megabytes or gigabytes, and you're like, it gets expensive. So like managing like the cost of all of this is like a challenge. And if we could create better systems that allow people build these apps, and we could find a way to either compact the data that is being transmitted or make it costless, that would be great. Also, I think the biggest issue that AR and VR has, like, and one of the things that it's stifling the adoption is the is the gadgets itself. Like if there was a way to have these experiences on tools that I already use, if you could bring these not getting me to like on board on a new tool, buy a new hardware, install
Mhm.
new apps. It's like I already exist on the internet in some places. Bring this thing to where I exist, where you already know customers are, instead of building things and trying to do like a whole new bit of acquiring new customers there and things like that.
Right.
So this is my phone, right? If I could, do um AR somehow, I could have more AR experiences with my mobile phone, that would be fantastic, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I think so. Not saying that we shouldn't invest in headsets, but I think it's going to be a shift getting people to use and buy these headsets. And we also, even in the using and the buying of the headsets, that people use, we have to make these headsets people for easy for people to wear. I know people that wear headsets for a bit and they're complaining it's heavy, I need to take it out,
Yeah.
it's stressing me, or I have like really big hair, so my headsets don't fit. Like, so we need to solve some of these accessibility problems as
Right.
well, right? Um, but I wouldn't call it a new space, let me use your word, like you said, but it's budding, right?
Right.
And I think that with time, as more people get into the space, more customers complain about the things that they currently have,
Mhm.
and everybody learns, the experience will get better for both the creators as well as the providers, the businesses, the customers as well, like all the parties involved. But that's where I currently see challenges at the moment.
Definitely. Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, we have a headset that our family shares and we got it. I remember getting it. I was so excited. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be on the, what is the spatial? And it was a really cool experience. But um, there gets to be a point where you're realizing I'm not in the real world right now. How do you blend the two a little bit more seamlessly? How do you make it less of a hassle to have one person wearing it while the other person are watching them punch the air or whatever game they're playing, I hear what you're saying, and that's a very
People
interesting perspective.
people that also wear glasses, right? How do they use these headsets?
Right.
Right?
That's a
Because
great point. That's a
take
really good
off
point.
my glasses to wear the headset. So we need to think about accessibility is beyond software and use these tags when you're writing code, or if you upload a picture, make sure you add an alt or description. Even in the hardware space, we need to start thinking about ways to create things that different people, everyone can use, because the way the headsets are set up today, we're leaving a whole subset of people out, and
Mhm.
something has to be done about that. So there are many things, but I think it comes with the learning and it comes with the space. Things would evolve, eventually. I
Definitely.
have faith.
Likewise, likewise, likewise. Well, with that being said, is there a way that you can see that cloud necessarily impacts this space for the better as well? I know that you were talking about cost. That is a very interesting component. Is there anything else that cloud can really do to make an impact on the AR VR space?
um it could impact the experience. I mean, the reason why people can have shared collaborative experiences is because um the cloud is involved, right? The internet is involved. So we are connecting to I'm connecting to a server, you're connected to that same server, and then somehow we're meeting each other in the metaverse and we're doing whatever it is that we want to do in the metaverse, which wouldn't be possible if everything was done, computing was done on device, information was stored on device, everything will be local to your device, right?
Right.
So cloud makes it possible to create that interaction, that communication, that collaboration, and just, like fosters the way I actually see AR and VR making a difference is by, using AR and VR to enforce communities in some way, right? and the cloud is a huge part of that. We can't take it away. So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's how I feel like, apart from like, the cost and rendering things on the internet and things like that, that's another thing for why I would say the cloud is important in that space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great, I mean, that's something I think a lot of people gloss over. It's wonderful that you can draw attention to that. And when I say a lot of people, I mean a lot of people that aren't on the DevOps side of things, just the people using the device. So that's wonderful. Well, we're going to take a quick little break now. When we jump back into this, we're going to talk about your experience at the lead program, your experience as a founder, and your experience more so on the content creation side. So we will be right back. Alrighty, so we are back and we are going to talk about your experience at the Stanford Lead program. So tell us about this program and what the goal of this program is, who's attending it, and how did it come onto your radar?
So yeah, the Stanford Lead program is like a 1 year business program, especially for people that would like to learn about, you know, business, and different things around like, companies, negotiation, being a great leader, starting your own business, things like that. So maybe if you're not able to get a full MBA because you work in a company and you can't just wake up and leave, you could do like the lead program. And it made sense to me because at the time, the team that I was on, at Microsoft, we were building something very interesting. And I wasn't ready to leave that team because it was still very early on. And like I wanted it to be so that I contributed to this product, in Microsoft. And I didn't want to quit to go to school. Do you get what I mean? So it made sense for me to work and go to school. And I checked out a bunch of programs in business schools, and I wanted to go to a top school. So I know that there are like remote MBAs that I could have done, but I wanted to go to a top school, like one of the best schools, one of the best business schools. Um, and unfortunately, many of these schools don't offer remote MBAs, right? Like you have to physically go to the school, except you have like over 10 years of work experience when you can get an executive MBA, which I don't have. I've only worked for 7 years. So when I saw the Stanford Lead program, it made a lot of sense to me. I looked at the curriculum and a lot of things that are there and things that make sense, strategic leadership, finance, critical thinking, negotiation, building teams, risk management, all these things that are very important, as someone in an organization. And even at life, you can apply some of these things as well. So it made sense to take it on. And I am very happy that I did. It was hard, I wouldn't lie. It was hard, juggling it with work because work is full time, school is part time, but there are a bunch of assignments that you're going to have to do, and you're going to have to figure out the way around that. So it wasn't the easiest thing to do. But it was nice. I also met a lot of people. I'm now officially part of like, the Stanford GSB lead community, and there are a bunch of like really fantastic people there. I just finished my own program recently, and I see myself volunteering for a lot of other things in there and being in touch and in tune with the community and the people because I feel like my next co-founder or my next job or my next set of mentors, can come from there because it's a very diverse and amazing set of leaders all across the world. And I mean leaders not only in the context of the fact that the name of the program is lead, but these are people that are in very high stages in their careers as well. So they are leading, different things in different businesses. Some are doing this in big tech, some are doing this in startups, some are doing this in other industries as well, like agriculture. So it's very interesting seeing everyone come together. And I also one of the reasons I really appreciate the program as well is that I got to apply everything that I've learned immediately I was learning it, as opposed to like an MBA where you have to finish it, get a job or start a business and then start applying that. But for me, it's like we do something in class today, there's a case study, And then the next day, I'm talking to my manager about something and I'm realizing how, these things tie into each other. And I'm applying some of those concepts that I had learned into my job almost
Wow.
immediately. And there's also the fact that since I had started the lead program and now I have grown a lot. Like there's so many things that I have now added to the list of things that I'm doing. One of them is creating like my own nonprofits and like um basically seeing a problem that exists in the tech community and deciding to solve that problem. I mean, because I'm a software developer, I am a problem solver, but I also didn't think that I had the capacity to solve a problem this big until I got into Stanford lead and I was told that I could do anything I wanted to do. And I'm like, okay, you know what? If I can do anything I want to do, I might as well just go and try this one. And if it fails, that's fine. We'll try something else. So my mindset, it has opened my mind to a bunch of things that I was very timid to do before.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm really like I'm super grateful that I did it.
Wow. Absolutely. And so remind me, was this virtual or was it in person or was it hybrid? How did it work?
Yeah, so it was 100% virtual.
100%
Although
virtual.
I went to California once for a meetup, just so that I could see some of the leaders, meet some of my classmates,
Yeah.
and the yearly conference that people go for as well, where leaders can connect in person as opposed to just connecting on the virtual community that we have.
Mhm.
There's like an alumni community, right? So as opposed to just connecting there, people can actually go and meet each other in person.
Wow.
So there are opportunities to physically meet, but the program in itself is virtual.
Wow. 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 So that's very helpful. So where were you in the world when you were in the program?
I was in Nigeria, like I was
You were
in
in
Lagos, Nigeria.
you were in Lagos.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
um,
Wow. Wow. And people were from all different countries.
from all different countries. There's some leaders in Nigeria. I connected with some of them. There are many people across like America, Europe. I saw a bunch of people in Australia, different parts of the world. Like it's
Wow.
amazing.
Wow. That's awesome. That is unbelievable. How did time change work in that? I mean, was that difficult for people at times in terms of
Not
time zones?
necessarily not necessarily because most of the classes you take are, already pre-recorded. So like the platform has like, the lectures there and the assignments there, and all the live sessions that we had, there were always at least three different time zones for
Mm,
different live sessions. So you pick the session that, works for your current time zone. So there's no need to be up at 1 a.m., right? For
absolutely.
example. And if you had group assignments as well, they would always try to pair you with people in similar time zones. So
Similar time
I
zones.
met a lot of people in Europe more than I
Okay.
met a lot of people in America until I,
Gosh.
went to California and I saw the Americans. I met a lot of people in Europe through my interactions with the program just because all the group assignments, all the things I had to do, in pairs, I was mostly paired with people in Europe because we shared similar time zones.
Right, 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 right. Well, that's time zone is a common like current challenge, I think, for a lot of people in different countries. And as we all start to work together, it seems like it's easier to work with people from different countries, even though we have those little things. But very cool, very neat experience. And I love the way you answered all the questions I could have asked in terms of the people you met and in terms of what you got from it and what you were able to gain and how you were able to apply that. I think that's so valuable to be a part of a program that allows you to do that. And I want to
Yeah.
talk now about you being a founder and how this has impacted you at Nexuscale. For those that aren't familiar with Nexuscale, introduce it. Tell us about Nexuscale.
Okay, so Nexus Scale is a nonprofit. We created it to help people start and scale their tech careers by connecting them to jobs, internships, or other opportunities where they can build stuff as they wait for jobs. And the biggest part of this obviously is the opportunities where people can build as they wait for jobs, creating projects for people, connecting them to projects and, open source companies and contributions and, just motivating them to build, creating like programs, within the community, creating already established projects and having people contribute to those projects as well. Because you find that in tech companies, you don't go there building things from scratch. Most times, what happens is that you go there and there's already a code base that you are required to contribute to. So, creating all these scenarios for people to contribute to so that they can have work experience as they continue looking for jobs is my goal and extra skills. So I'm not really focused on teaching people technical skills. I feel like a lot of ed tech platforms already exist that are doing that. A lot of other online schools as well exist that are doing that, teaching people how to program, teaching
Mm,
people all these digital skills. But now the thing is, there are a lot of people that have gone through these programs, have certificates, and are still either not hireable or they're just jobless, right?
mhm.
So the ones that are hireable and don't have a job yet, working with them as well as my volunteers to help them get placed in jobs. The ones that don't seem very hireable at the moment, creating these programs, putting them there, giving them opportunities to build their soft skills as well as their hard skills and contribute to interesting projects just so that they can get
Build that experience.
something that makes some kind of experience before like the job comes. Right now, our main focus is something that we're calling a laptop sharing initiative, because there are many people that we've seen that have these um, problems that we're trying to solve, but they don't have laptops today if we want to get them to contribute to projects. And
Wow.
there are many people that are buying laptops for people in the tech space, right? There are many people that are donating laptops, donating money. But when you buy a laptop for someone, you've helped one person. And there's so many other people that would not be able to get access to these laptops. So now what we're doing is a laptop sharing initiative. So we've partnered with hubs across the country, different parts of the country. So what
Wow.
we're doing is we would buy laptops and keep them in these hubs. And people that have applied to use the laptops in those hubs will go to those hubs, use the laptop, drop it there. So, in cases like that, you can have like 30 people having access to 10 laptops, which
Yeah.
wouldn't have been the case if you just bought a laptop for one person and give it to them. So that's like what we're currently working on now. So you go in there, you take the laptop, you build, you drop the laptop, and then you go back. So
Wow.
that's one of the things that we're working. A bunch of other initiatives that we have going. We have some for STEM to get more girls into STEM as well. So we're going to different underserved communities, talking to the young girls there about careers in STEM and getting them to be interested, working with the schools, working with their parents to mentor them. So like there's a lot that is going on in Nexa scale. And I had to put like an amazing team. Shout out to my team. If anybody from my team watches this, I think all of you are amazing. Thank you so much for always continuously, doing this with me. Putting together an amazing team. Like I feel like the people part of any organization is the hardest part. But I've been so lucky that I've not had to deal with, these issues.
Wow.
Because I found the best people to do this with me. And it's been like a very interesting journey.
Oh, I'm very happy to hear that. I think it's a reflection of you that you've got such wonderful people behind you. So we're with you. And again, that is a hard thing, but again, a testament to you and the person you are. So that's wonderful. I'm really happy to hear it from your mouth and learn more what Next Scale is about and see what you hope to accomplish. How did it all start? What stood out to you to say, I need to jump into this? I need to start addressing at least a small problem. Now it's turned into so many other problems that you're addressing.
I mean, going to business school opened my mind to, the fact that I can be more.
Hmm.
I can be more than I can be more than an author. I can be more than a software engineer. And this is something that I have always complained about, right? People reach out to me and I'm like, I don't have a job, I'm sorry, I can't hire you, right? People that I see have graduated from some programs, online programs, I see them as like, you're not very hireable. People that I've interviewed, I'm like, this person doesn't have that much, experience. It would have been nice if they got some more experience before they came to interview. So, it was a factor of my environment and different things around me. So I'm just like, instead of me complaining about all of these things, why don't I try to do something about it? So that was
Yeah.
the idea.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And to kind of loop it back into your idea of the lead program, how has that lead program affected you and allowed you to reflect on what you were doing with Nexascale and turn it into something, alter it now?
So the truth is, the lead program came before Nexa Skill came. So it wasn't like, oh, I started Nexa Skill and then I started
Oh, I
lead
gotcha.
and then
Okay.
I reformed, I got into, like I started Nexa Skill, then I got into lead and reformed Nexa Skill based on what I had learned in lead. No, I got into lead and then I realized that I can actually build Nexa Skill and then I
Wow.
went on and then I did that. So it was everything from the lead program, pouring everything I had learned about building sustainable teams, about, making people motivated, about, problem solving and everything, and just like, putting that into building Nexa Scale. We're 2 months old, right? Yeah,
Wow.
we're 2 months old because
Wow.
we started May 1st. Yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
gosh. Unbelievable.
And it's,
Unbelievable. Well,
yeah,
that's
we're
you're
2 months old, and
already
it's like
tackling
we've
a
been
lot.
there for
You're already tackling
years.
a lot for 2 months into this. That's
Yeah,
unbelievable. Congratulations. That's huge.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. So it's, the motivation and the fire and, all of that resilience and everything came from the fact that, I did a lot in lead and I learned a lot. We're 2 months old and we're doing a lot. I'm sure that by the end of 1 year, by this time next year, we would have done like more things and it would be like very amazing. And I'm looking forward to like everything that we get to accomplish. So yeah, lead was the driver for starting Nexus Scale. I mean, before lead, I was a public speaker. I used to contribute to communities and help them organize community events. And I used to see these problems in my face, but I didn't do anything about it. And then after lead, I'm like, you know what? I know how to create this structure. I've learned a lot about, building sustainable teams and um solving interesting problems, and I'll go ahead and I'll do this thing. When it's time to raise money, obviously that's very hard at the moment because of the state of the economy, right? But like I'd also learned about, like fundraising and a bunch of things. And okay, when it's time, I'll go and do it too. And everything that I have learned has been helping me in all areas of my life, even beyond Nexa scale.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. Well, I'm excited for you. I'm very excited to see this unfold and what the next year will hold. Time will only tell. So I can tell that was a very impactful program. That's just wonderful you're able to be a part of it and apply it. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Well, content creation, you just touched on that. This is something that you've been doing forever. Now you're taking it, seems like, to another scale, um, another level. And I do want to touch on that because I think it's, even though you've said now you want to, address some of these problems head on, I still think what you've done in terms of content is very impressive. You've published a couple of books. You've been on YouTube for over 4 years. You've built a strong following around this space. And that's not only does it just show that you've, taken the time to understand what you're doing, but you care enough to let other people know how they can become better. And I think that that's a very powerful tool that you've created for yourself and for others. So why did you start with this? Why did you start sharing, content? How did this all begin for you?
It's a very, very, very funny story. It has to do with failure. It came from failure. So, I'm a very vocal person. I've always been a vocal person. I was born and brought up that way. However, there were some certain scenarios that there was a certain one, actually, not many, but there was a certain scenario that I was vocal in that apparently, I went for an interview, and the interview went really well, by the way. And then, at the end of the interview, I was talking to the COO, and he was telling me that, oh, when you're ready, so it was an internship. But when you're ready to work here, let me know. And then, this is my card, call me so that we can send you an employment letter because it was for an internship. I was a student. And then the CEO walks in and asks me a question, and I'm responding to the question. And then he comes in halfway, and I'm like, wait, now you didn't let me finish. And then apparently, this guy says I was being rude, and he goes on social media and calls me rude.
Oh
And
my God.
I felt like I was rude, and I felt like maybe I'm too vocal. Maybe I should calm down. And obviously, what that meant was I started calming down in all areas of my life. You know, the internship I eventually got, I think I got in because I wrote an exam. I don't think that I would have gotten in if we had done vocal interviews because I was already timid at that point because I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to say the wrong thing to the wrong person before they go and tweet at me again or tweet about me again, right? And obviously, when you're like this for a very long time, it becomes your normal. So it started affecting me. And I'll be in serious meetings where people would ask me for my opinion. And I'm like, oh no, everything everybody said is correct. It's fine. I have nothing to add because I didn't want to say anything, right? And I did a Google interview in 2018 and I failed the interview. And when I came out of that interview, I knew that I had failed it because they asked me a technical question which I knew the answer to, by the way, and I got the answer correctly. However, I didn't engage the interviewer throughout the entire process. It's just like, oh, this is the question you asked me. I've typed the code. This is the answer, right? And obviously, the next day they're like, oh, my communication skills, blah 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 blah. And
Wow.
I was just like, I need to fix these problems. So I had to put myself in a position where I would become uncomfortable, or rather, yeah, I had to put my position where in myself in a position where I had to do the things that I felt were uncomfortable. And for me, that thing was public speaking. So I started public speaking and content creation around the same time. Public speaking because I wanted to get comfortable with speaking to strangers. Content creation because I wanted to get comfortable in airing my opinions again. If I air my own opinion, and you feel like what I'm saying is rubbish, the worst thing you can do is insult me, and that's your business. I can block you off my page, but I would have aired my opinion. So that was how, I started. I was already writing like a couple of months before that, but like that was how I started getting in front of a camera and talking and, standing in front of people and talking as well, because I wanted to get past that fear that I had unknowingly created because of that incident that happened like 2 years prior to that.
Wow.
Um, and then, as I was doing all of this, I was amassing a following, I was creating a brand, and I didn't even notice. And then it was eventually along the line that I realized what I was doing, and then I became more intentional about doing it, and I just continued doing it and continued. And I started using that as an avenue to give back and help people and teach. But it honestly didn't start that way. I just really wanted to get past the fear of not being able to speak to
Wow.
anyone.
Wow. Well, what a great origin story. I mean, there's so many reasons why that is amazing. You have to work past your fears. You have to take that next step. You have to say, I can do this. And you threw yourself into the fire and you've built something incredible out of it. Um, it's amazing. And it's just led to so many great experiences. And obviously where you are today is wonderful. I'm sure so many look up to you. So with that being said, what do you suggest for people in terms of if they want to create content around this, or maybe they're afraid to? What's your message to them?
Do it. What's the worst that could happen? Like, if you think about, all the things that could happen just because you did it, like all the amazing things that could happen versus the bad things that could go wrong, the opportunities are limitless and the bad things have limits, right? So you don't want to box yourself, and this is also me giving myself advice in return, to be honest. You don't want to box yourself because of, that kind of thing. It's like, okay, if you put out something, what's the worst thing that would happen? Nobody would see it, right? Or somebody would see it and they would disagree with you. Okay, whatever. But if you put out something, that kind of thing could motivate somebody into being a better version of themselves, right? You put out something that could actually get you your next opportunity, your next contract, your next ambassadorship. That could get you on stages of, big conferences, and like there's so many ways that it could go amazing, and there are only few ways that it could go wrong if you are doing the right thing, right? So I feel like there are more reasons to do it as opposed to more reasons not to. So if you're interested, just go ahead and do it. What's the worst thing that could happen?
I love that. I love that. That's wonderful advice. Adora, it's been awesome having you on here, and it's been awesome to learn more about you as a
Thank you.
person, your path, and I'm just so appreciative that you've taken the time and have been able to share your story with so many. So, what are any closing remarks that you have, or any last bits of advice that you have for anybody out there that's looking to get into your space or looking to learn more about what you do?
Okay. I would give the advice I just always give. You have everything to gain and absolutely nothing to lose if you try. If you try and you fail, you would have learned a lesson and a new way not to try that thing if you want to try it again. And if you try and you succeed, congratulations. So if you want to get into tech, you want to, be a content creator, you want to start an NGO, you want to get into Stanford Lead, or you want to do anything else that is exciting, might not be Stanford Lead, might be another business school program. There's no reason why you shouldn't do it because you have everything to gain and absolutely nothing to lose. I see failure as a way to learn and grow, and learning is part of the journey. If you don't learn through failure, you learn through other ways, right? So you should embrace failure and take it as an opportunity to learn. So if you think you failed, you've just learned a new thing. So far as you're alive, there's opportunity for you to grow every day. So just make sure you are, trying everything that you want to try, putting yourself in the middle of opportunities, taking the leap, and just being yourself while at it, to be honest. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's wonderful advice. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.